Hello Magic Makers, welcome to Storytime with Mombierella. This is a young adult fiction and may be inappropriate for some younger viewers. Evil Thing. A Tale of That DeVille Woman by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Enterprises Incorporated, 2020. Chapter 18. Perdita. I was so nervous that morning while getting ready to meet Anita. I'd gotten myself into a tizzy trying to find the right outfit. I wanted everything to be perfect. I tried on everything in my closet, first putting it on, then flinging it on the bed or the floor, until I finally arrived at my black dress. The black dress. You know the one. The only dress that felt right. The only dress that looked right. I had so wanted to leave my old trappings behind, to leave the old Cruella behind, but I couldn't bring myself to leave the house without them. Quite at the last moment, I decided to wear the ring Jack had made for me, and the earrings given to me by my sweet papa. Wearing my most cherished pieces made me feel as if I were becoming myself again. Something within me shifted, especially when I put on the earrings. I felt a tingling sensation, a feeling that intensified as I made my way back to London. The one thing I left behind was my fur coat. I couldn't stand to see the thing. It reminded me of my mamma, and I was worried it would remind Anita of my mamma as well. After a long drive, I finally arrived in London and found the little cafe, exactly where Anita said it would be. Not that I doubted her. I was feeling so much better being back in London. I could breathe, and I felt more confident. I was filled with a vitality I hadn't felt in a long time, and I was happy I'd made the trip. There was something about wearing the dress and my jewelry again that gave me courage. Or perhaps it was being back in London, or the prospect of seeing Anita again, or kissing Perdita's soft black nose. I wasn't quite sure. Whatever it was, I was happy to be there, and to be feeling like my old self again. I parked nearby around the corner and made my way to the cafe on foot. As I rounded the corner, I saw them before they saw me. Perdita was with her, as promised. Anita was in a pretty little sundress, reading her book in the sunshine, sipping away at her coffee, and Perdita was curled up at her feet. She had turned into a beautiful dog, with a long pointed snout and delicate features. She wore a slender blue collar with a gold tag. Anita had been taking good care of her, but I'd never doubted she would. Not for a moment. I stood there for the longest time just watching them, envying them their happiness. Just sitting there in the sun, Anita not even looking up from her book or at her watch, curious where I might be. She was carefree and happy. I felt like a monster in comparison, too tall, too thin, too sad, and too angry to even belong in the same world as them. I'd missed so much time with them both, and there was so much I wanted to say to Anita. So many things to apologize for, or at least I thought so at the time. As I approached their table, Perdita opened her eyes, and for a moment, I thought she knew me. "Cruella!" Anita stood up to greet me, stepping in front of Perdita and preventing me from reaching out to say hello. "Hello, Anita," I said. Anita looked down at Perdita and tried to coax her to come out from behind her to say hello. "Perdita, you remember Cruella? Say hello." She slowly moved her head around to the right side of Anita's legs, peering out at me, but wouldn't come out to greet me. I have to admit, I was crushed. I had pinned all my hopes on this meeting with them. "I'm sorry, Cruella. She isn't usually like this. I'm sure once she gets to know you better, she will warm up to you." Sweet Anita, always trying to save my feelings. But I thought maybe she was right. Maybe Perdita would remember me. "Oh, Perdita, it hurts me that you don't remember me. You know you were once mine," I said. Of course, the dog didn't know what I was saying, but maybe it was more for Anita's benefit anyway. "Oh, Cruella, please don't take it that way," she said, looking sincerely sad for me. It was that same look they all gave me. I hated that look. I'd been ready to tell Anita everything, my entire story, to tell her she was right about my mamma, right about how I had treated my servants, and how very sorry I was for being angry at her, for pursuing her own dreams. But something happened as I sat there. I honestly can't tell you exactly what it was. But something shifted within me. Something sparked. It felt like a current washing over me, a much more intense version of the feeling I'd had when I put on my old trappings, a feeling that grew the closer I got to London. Now, I'm not saying London had some magical effect on me. I don't believe in such things. But something did happen. I felt an inkling of my transformation the moment I got ready to leave Hill Hall, and it just got stronger and stronger as I made my way to London. I have a theory, but you'll probably think I'm mad. I'll let you make of it what you will. Whatever happened, however it came to be, I'm thankful. As Anita told me about her life, Perdita eyed me fearfully from under Anita's chair. She prattled on and on about how she and Roger had met in the park, a story I already knew. But I sat there suffering as she gushed, filling in the details.
Cruella, you will simply love Roger. He's such a talented composer, she said, smiling at me. I have to tell you how we met. If you can believe it, I hated him at first. His dog Pongo was acting up at the park, trying to get Perdita's attention, and there was Roger chasing after him like some kind of fool, getting Pongo's leash tangled up in Perdita's, making us both fall into the water. It was hilarious.
That sounds very romantic, I said, not meaning a word of it.
It was. It was like out of one of our stories, Cruella. Remember how Princess Tulip was annoyed with Prince... Oh, what was his name again?
Prince Popinjay, I said. I think that was his name.
Yes, remember how Tulip didn't like him at first, but after a while they fell in love. Well, it was like that for both me and Perdita.
All of this was sickening to me. As I was sitting there listening to her story, I found myself more and more distracted by that feeling that was washing over me.
But of course I'm being insensitive. I heard about your Jack. I'm so sorry, Cruella, she said.
Instead of warmth and comfort, I just felt cold, empty. Somehow, reconnecting with Anita was no longer important. I didn't understand it at first, how something so important to me could suddenly evaporate. Before I got ready to leave Hill Hall, I'd been so full of hope for a fresh start with Anita. I'd tricked myself into thinking we would easily fall back into friendship again, even sisterhood. I don't know what possessed me. It was as if I was under the same spell that had overtaken me at Christmas time so many years before, when Anita had bewitched me into thinking my mamma was a scheming, evil person, when she convinced me that my servants loved me more than my own dear mamma. As I sat there listening to how wonderful Anita's life was, I became sure I must have temporarily lost my senses when I decided to call her. My distaste for her intensified as I sat there listening to her prattle on and on about Roger and Pongo, hardly even acknowledging my loss, or even aware that hearing her talk about that fool Roger would make me miss my Jack. And the more she talked, the more I despised her. And her stupid dog. Neither of them loved me anymore. Perdita didn't even know me. Mamma had been right about her. She was simple, common, and unworthy of my friendship. I wanted to hurt her, like she'd hurt me. I wanted to do something to show I wasn't someone to be pitied. I wanted to make something of my life, something spectacular, and make my mother proud of me again. It was all I could think about. I was obsessed. Sitting there with Anita and Perdita was just wasting time. I had to come up with a plan, some way to distinguish myself the way my mother had always wanted me to. But how? How could I do that?
Cruella, are you okay? You seem to be lost in thought, said Anita.
I'm sorry, Anita. I suppose I'm just a little sad Perdita doesn't remember me, I said, grasping at something that sounded believable. And then the beast growled at me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cruella. She's usually very sweet. I don't know why she's being this way. Perhaps she's just feeling particularly vulnerable around strangers, because of her condition.
What? I said. Her condition?
The puppies, Cruella. She's due quite soon, I'm afraid.
Perdita's having puppies? I blinked. Then it came to me. A way to get my revenge. A way to hurt Anita and her stupid dog, Perdita. a way to distinguish myself. I finally had a way to make my mother proud. Nothing else mattered now.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please come back next time for more. If you haven't had a chance to yet, please take a second, hit that thumbs up, comment down below, say hello, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell as well. And share with a friend who'd like to hear these stories. And if you'd like to help me continue to do these readings, make sure to check out my social media links and Patreon page down below. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. See you next time. Bye.